All right. Hey, everyone. This is the Huge Movie Podcast, the only movie podcast that's not afraid to kill a main character mid-season. I'm Chris Carfaro. Alongside me is Connor Garrigan. We're missing a couple guys today.
Yeah, they're definitely missing.
And they may never be found.
We'll see. We did a good job.
I'm just really questioning whether or not they're fully into this right now. Like, if they're willing to die, like, they got to stick around.
I mean, they died for this.
They did not die for this. They died for vacation.
No, they died for this.
How did they die for this?
We killed them.
We sacrificed them to the pod god.
They didn't want to, but they did.
Yeah, the ritual sacrifice is important. They don't tell you that in podcasting school.
No.
All right. So we got an interesting episode today. We're not going to be going off the bracket because we're missing some of our members. So we decided it'd be fun, watch a current movie, and we shall discuss.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about mostly just the director, though. This movie's pretty.
And that movie is?
Guy Ritchie's The Covenant.
The reason I threw it over to you is because I forgot the name of it.
Really?
Yeah. I knew it was something like that, but then I was like, we were talking about the Halo TV show, and I was like, did I get that confused?
Oh, Covenant.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, but so I guess first off, what'd you think?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different Guy Ritchie movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not his personal style. It definitely looked like a war movie made by Guy Ritchie, though.
Sure.
Because
it was.
There was like the I know, but there was like the little bit of the banter back and forth.
Yeah.
In like what he assumes is a military tone.
Right.
You know,
it's a little weird having, and I liken this to a lot of like political commentators, but like if you're a foreigner, right, quote unquote foreigner, and you're talking about like stuff that's truly American, it always like. It might just be like my subconscious, but there always seems to be like a little bit of a disconnect. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know. It just feels weird to me.
Yeah, I'm sure he had like tons of people, I don't know, helping out.
Yeah,
like he had a lot of consultants on this, like talking about the military and U.S. politics and whatever, and the Afghanistan war or Iraq war or whatever. But oh yeah, it was like something was off.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Not that it took away from the movie though. It was just. Because the story was still captivating, it was enough to like suspend your disbelief,
right,
and still get into the movie.
So you kind of said it right away, but like I felt like for the first scene, it was like, oh, I could see like this is how Guy Ritchie's going to approach a war movie, and then as spoiler alerts, guys. And then as soon as the truck blows up, it's like, all right, now forget this is a Guy Ritchie movie. We want to get you involved with the story, right?
Yeah.
Like a guy like him, because he's so super stylized with all of his stuff, it would be pretty easy for him to just kind of put his stamp on everything and kind of like throw the story on the back burner. But for this, I feel like he really tried to bring the story forward and kind of left his, like he kind of was a little bit more hands-free on this one, I felt like.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it, I think. Because it's not that he was actually hands-free, because obviously he was making all the decisions. But it wasn't him putting Guy Ritchie on every scene.
Right.
For what we know Guy Ritchie from as in Snatch and
Lock,
Stock, Rock and Roller. Yeah, The Gentleman.
I still can't believe when we decided to do this, you brought up Rock and Roller for the first Guy Ritchie movie that you thought of.
It's the easiest title to say.
The Gentleman?
So many syllables.
Yeah, but you have to leave off the ER at the end of Rock and Rolla. There's a soft A. It's not a hard R.
There's alliteration though. It makes up for it.
Okay. I guess that. Wait, I might be remembering this wrong. Was Gerard Butler in Rock and Rolla?
I think so, but I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in so long.
I think sophomore year of college is when I first saw that movie. I quit.
No, we definitely watched it in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Every movie that I can't remember like when I watched it, I always just assume that it was sophomore year of college because I quit my Tuesday, Thursday classes and just watched movies the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did really well in school. But yeah, so I thought overall it was a pretty good movie. Like I said at the very beginning, you had like the Guy Ritchie touches on everything. I was a little...
Oh, yeah. So the scene that got me worried, where I was like, this is just gonna be Guy Ritchie light in like war format.
Yeah.
Was when he was talking to his superior officer,
Mm-hmm.
or then he went to the room with the other guy, and they had that little back and forth like,
Yeah.
"You're never here.
We
I
didn't
never
have
did
this.
to you."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they were just both like sarcastic, or like I don't know.
Yeah, because if you don't know,
Dry. It was British humor, but in American soldier voices.
right? Which
Yeah.
is like it's kind of one of those things where it's like, what's wrong with this picture right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It definitely felt like that.
I didn't hate it though. I'm like kind of talking shit about it now, but I didn't hate it. It was just like, oh, this is what we're getting. Oh no, it's not. Oh, okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it is like almost. I wouldn't say complete departure, but it's very, very far from anything he's ever done. Because most of the stuff
It's
he does,
hard to say because he's got. Did you look up his filmography before this?
no,
There's a lot of weird shit on there.
Really?
So he had his Disney deal. So
I
he
didn't
did.
know about that.
He did. Was it King Arthur?
Oh, I did know that one. Yeah,
He did.
I never watched it.
Here, I'll bring it up. There was a couple on there that were a little strange. He did the Sherlock Holmes movies.
I remember, but those still had Guy Ritchie flair to it.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you know, all the slow-mo scenes were like, which is like one of the more innovative things that he had like brought to cinema was like those slow-mo fighting.
He did Aladdin.
Scenes.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, the live action one?
Yeah.
Never watched
And
it.
then he did Man from U.N.C.L.E. Neither did I. Never.
Man from U.N.C.L.E., but it still had a Guy Ritchie touch on it. It was still like super.
A little bit, yeah.
It was like super stylized. I mean, maybe like a touch off from his other stuff.
I listened to the Ringers podcast, and they were talking
We
about...
don't listen to other podcasts. This is the only podcast we listen to.
Okay, I heard from someone who listens to the Ringers
There you
podcast.
go.
On the big picture, Sean Fantasy said that it was like his James Bond audition tape.
Yeah, it
Man
makes
from
sense.
U.N.C.L.E.
Mhm.
Yeah. And this kind of feels like it, too.
Great casting in Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I loved it.
Army
Yeah.
Hammer. Nothing wrong with that guy.
Not a thing.
Oh, another thing before we get kind of like into the meat of it. It scared me a little bit, again, having this be a war movie when Guy Ritchie's known for like those British gangster type films with like a lot of humor involved. Like they're
like the most fun movies to watch.
yeah, like they're serious subject matter, right? They're action packed, but then also it's like almost a comedy movie at some points.
It's like only a comedy.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. When it started first playing out, like I would say the whole first act, I was like still unsure whether or not like I was going to be into this.
Yeah.
And it reminded me a lot of when David O. Russell made Three Kings. Like it was such a weird movie for him to be doing at the time. It felt like it was out of place from his other work. And like that movie to me, although I did enjoy it, I felt like as far as a director coming off of his other work, it was like just not him at all, and you couldn't really find that stamp. With this, especially in the second and third acts, I felt like although it wasn't Guy Ritchie, like not stylistically, it was still like a very well done movie, and you could still tell like there were certain parts of it that were very much a Guy Ritchie movie.
This was one of my favorite like newer war movies
Sure,
that I've seen.
sure.
I haven't seen All Quiet on the Western Front yet, but
Yeah, I haven't either.
I think 1917, nothing can really beat that. But this was probably the best I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. I've never like been even a huge fan of war movies altogether, and especially like
I loved them more as a kid. Now I see them in a whole different light.
Yeah, because you understand the full impact of like the conflict, especially movies about the Middle East. I have a hard time watching movies about the Middle East now, just because like I've got family that's in the military. You always hear horror stories about people coming back and just like saying, "What's the point of all this conflict?"
Yeah, and not to be conspiracy theory-ish, but a lot of this is our government's choice, and you can't really get behind the decision.
I also don't think that that's conspiracy at this point.
Yeah, no,
like
it's not.
It's pretty much been proven.
Yeah, but because I get mad at our government when I watch these movies.
Yeah.
Now,
Dude, I listen to System of a Down so
Yeah.
much like more closely now. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god, these guys get it.
because it's like it's hard to do a movie like this and not be political.
Sure.
So he did it. I wouldn't say he's political, but it was very. There's a way you can look at this movie as pro soldier pro-war, pro-Iraq war in a way. Like, I was trying to look at it from different angles. So this is what I was trying to see it as. Like, the Taliban was evil, pure evil. They were evil to their own. They were evil to everybody around them. And we had to go and be the good guys in this. We had to look through all these people's homes, the searches that apparently they just walked in and looked around, like didn't shoot anything, didn't break anything. In this, they saw people using drugs and like, oh, just another Saturday afternoon. Like, like that. I don't know how well. I don't know. I shouldn't say because I wasn't over there, and I don't want to.
Yeah, you were never in the shit.
Yeah. So, but, it was really hard for me to try to see it that way because I just kept thinking like, wow, these guys are over here for nothing.
Yeah.
And like for us to control our oil or whatever, and they're going through all this shit, and there's all these people that they just completely ignored. Like the story is about the translators that were in Afghanistan.
I forgot whether it was like
Iraq.
Afghanistan.
I think it was
or
Afghanistan. That were from Afghanistan.
Which
that
one-
worked
which
with
country
the
did
U.S.
we leave?
military.
Afghanistan. So
yeah.
it was Afghanistan. Yeah.
So it was about they were native Afghanistan, like just normal professional people that chose to enlist in the U.S. military in a way, go through basic training, and then work as a translator with the military. And then after we left, just kind of abandoned them.
Yeah. And this was also, I think, one of the only movies, at least that I can remember, that tackled that subject. Like you never hear about the plight that translators in these conflicts go through.
They kind of, like Wind Talkers was kind of like that, but that was different. It wasn't like a translator it was a translator to speak in code.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But
that was the one where they were breaking the World War II codes.
They weren't breaking. They were using them like with the Navajo language.
Yeah. Right. I'm thinking of
that the other countries couldn't break.
I'm thinking of the Benedict Cumberbatch movie Enigma, or the Enigma Machine, whatever the name of that one is.
Imitation Game.
Imitation Game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I thought that part of the movie was good. I think he did bring like a lot of heart to the two main characters, because really the whole movie is just them.
It's Jake Gyllenhaal and I didn't want to forget his name.
Look at you now. Completely forgot the name. By the way, while Connor's looking that up, make sure that you guys subscribe to the YouTube. Look up us on Instagram or on Twitter. Connor puts up some fun stuff on Twitter.
Twitter is not related to the podcast that much, but it is fun.
Yeah, it's a fun time. If you like movies and silly banter,
it's fun for me.
Yeah, the Twitter's for Connor, but it could be also for you.
Dar Salim.
Dar Salim?
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice first name.
Yeah.
What's his last name?
Salim.
Oh.
Dar Salim.
Nah, I got it.
Yeah.
I was trying to be funny. It's harder than it looks. So yeah, I like I said, I thought that not a lot of movies kind of tackle this type of subject. I also thought that it was really cool because a lot of times in these war movies, you don't really see, and I'll just call him one of the natives of the land, right? You don't really see them as one of the members of like the good guy team, right? They're kind of always like side characters. You understand that they're helping out.
Or they got like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Right. Which was the one translator who, eventually was trying to set them up into that trap. Like that's kind of where you normally see that.
Because the Taliban had his family.
No, I'm not saying anything about like why he did it, but I'm saying it's mostly like the ties are so more, I would say, towards the Afghanis. Is that how you say that? Afghanis?
We'd have to look.
Afghan people? Yeah. The people of Afghanistan. Yeah. But this guy was like, all right, I see these guys as my teammates, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to help them out. I'm helping my family out in this situation.
So what was his brother was in the Taliban?
It sounded to me, because he met his brother at the cafe.
But his brother left the Taliban because the Taliban killed his son. Is that what it was? And then this guy joined with the U.S.
I didn't pick that part up. I just think that he did a lot of business with the Taliban.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he was like one of those guys. He's like, I get stuff, you know. So he had a lot of business with the Taliban, and I think his brother being involved with the American military just like was bad for business. I don't think he was necessarily on either side. He was on the side of like making money.
Yeah. Okay.
At least that's what I got from it.
Okay.
Especially in the third act when Jake Gyllenhaal goes back for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought that it was a good movie overall. Like I said, the first act I was still unsure, but then the last two acts, because it was
Dude, the last half of the movie was so sick.
yeah,
That was the best part of the movie.
you never see them go back.
Yeah.
Right? Like I thought, I mean, American Sniper, he goes back, but that's just because he was a psychopath and went on a bajillion tours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I thought it was sick that
PTSD.
yeah, whatever.
Psychopath.
No, not psychopath. Just misunderstood. Why would you call him a psychopath, Connor? No, but like normally the end of the movie is when they're back at home struggling to get reassimilated into American culture. Which Hurt Locker's. Oh no, that was Renner. I'm thinking of Jarhead.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. But this was the first one where it's like an extended look at time back home. You could see him kind of going into madness because he wants to pay this debt back to the man who saved his life, and the whole time, and it's very understated, which I thought.
So he eventually gets captured, and that guy, or their whole mission goes haywire, and they're trying to avoid being captured, and this translator saves his life.
Right, and it's basically
goes through extreme efforts to save his life.
It's not lone survivor; it's dual survivor at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So Jake Gyllenhaal's character is basically completely incapacitated. And the translator, Dar, right? That's his first name?
No. Ahmed. That
No,
was the
no.
actor's name.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
But
Ahmed.
his character's name is Ahmed.
Ahmed.
Or is it Ahmed?
Ahmed, but he says it's pronounced Ahmed. Ahmed.
Listen, guys, I'm trying my hardest. I don't want anyone to be upset with me. Just know I enjoyed the movie.
Saying it.
So I'm going to go with Dar.
Dar's character.
Yeah. He basically saved Jake Gyllenhaal's life. Was risking his life not only because the Taliban was after him, but also like braving the elements. He was like they had no supplies at this point. He was there pushing Jake Gyllenhaal on a wooden cart
in the desert, in the woods, like in the mountains. Yeah.
And by the time they got saved, like he was literally just like begging the trade people for water, giving some of it to Jake Gyllenhaal, and then when the Taliban comes and gets him, he defends him, kills the Taliban members, finally to be rescued by the Americans.
And then because he did this and the Taliban know who he is, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, once he's back home, wants to make sure he gets out.
Yeah.
He's doing everything in his power to get him visas.
Oh, yeah, that's
to get
the
him
point I was trying to
transport
make.
and everything. Yeah.
I forgot where we started this diatribe from.
And he can't, so then he has to do it himself.
Yeah, but the cool part is what I was saying is like you never see past like the first couple weeks maybe when they're back into when they're back into American life.
And this goes like almost 2 months?
I think so. He's 4 months in the hospital, 3 months back after he starts making the calls, and then it's like I want to say it was 90 something days if I remember correctly.
Okay.
After that point when he first started calling. But what I thought Guy Ritchie did really well is there's a whole montage of him calling, and they're just not like calling for the guy's visas because the whole thing is these translators, they're given money from the military but also visas to America, so after the war or after their service they can live in America because the Taliban's after them, right? You're a traitor basically at that point in their eyes. You helped an invading army and they basically want you dead. So they're trying to get his visa, but it wouldn't happen. So Jake Gyllenhaal keeps calling and calling and calling, obviously dealing with the PTSD of him getting all shot up, brought back home, and then very subtly they start showing shots where there's whiskey on the table, where there's a glass of whiskey, and as the montage goes you progressively see him start interacting with the alcohol. Then all of a sudden you see him start to slur his words, and then to the crux of the entire montage he starts belligerently yelling at the woman,
berating this woman
on the phone, and just like obviously plastered.
And then that's when you can tell it snapped, and he's like, I got to do this myself.
But it really ramped up to where like you felt the entire swing of emotion up to that point, which was really nice.
Yeah, it was cool. You don't really see war movies go into that. And as far as Guy Ritchie movies go too, I don't know. I haven't seen Wrath of Man or the other new one that just came out.
The one with Aubrey Plaza. I forgot the name of it too.
Rouge du Jour or whatever, something like that.
I thought it was like Project something.
Operation.
It was a 2-named title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet either.
Yeah, but
This came out after, right?
Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Stylistically, Guy Ritchie movies, because he made Aladdin and Sherlock Holmes. Like, those aren't his.
They're more one-offs.
Yeah. I think Man from U.N.C.L.E., but I don't know. This felt dark, very dark.
Very dark. The subject
it's like
matter
a Guy
alone.
Ritchie Moore movie.
Yeah. Subject matter alone, it was dark, but it also had definitely a darker tone, dealing with mental instability at the, after you went through the, I guess, plight of war.
Yeah.
And then obviously dark, this guy, the translator, fearing for his life from his own people, basically, because, at that point, it's if you're not with us, you're against us type mentality.
You have any gripes with the movie?
Gripes? Yeah, I felt like the pacing was not the best of a Guy Ritchie movie. I think normally he does really well with pacing, especially because, like, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch, they're not fast movies by any means.
No,
but they feel...
Not till the third act.
Right.
Yeah.
But they feel better paced because of the witty banter, because of, like, the deep character development.
And they go from storyline to storyline.
Right. He really does, or
he's
I don't know if he
bouncing
writes.
around.
Does he write? He has to write.
I think so.
Yeah. He intertwines the story so well that it doesn't feel like you're jumping around. It feels like all one moment, all happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
For this movie, the first act especially, after that first scene, it's a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of, like, setting up the different plot points. There's a little bit of anticipation, especially in the firefight, that kind of leads them to being the, I'll say it again, dual survivor at that point. But it always felt like there was...
He writes, like, pretty much all
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, it's so... Like, the dialogue's so him that he has to write it. But up until I thought the third act, the pacing there was just a disconnect between the movie. I don't know if you felt that way.
A little bit, not really. I mean, I didn't notice it really at the time. Maybe when you mentioning it, yeah, but it's not something that stood out to me.
Right.
I was like, Stormtrooper vibes with them shooting at them. Like guys,
yeah.
They can shoot anybody in 2 shots and then dodge everything.
Yeah, and AK is hard to shoot when you have all of those robes on.
But then, Ahmed picks it up and
all of a sudden that guy's a sniper. That was
gone
weird.
through basic training.
That was weird to me because, like, up until that point,
he was like a superhero.
Yeah, you don't even see him with, like, a gun. Up until that point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was definitely something weird right away because they didn't explain.
I thought I missed something in the story. Like, he was trained in another military or something like that.
Especially at the very beginning when he sniffs out the other translator.
Immediately
ambushing them. Mm-hmm. It's like, first of all, how did he know that? Like, yeah, what do you say? He saw the road before and it was perfectly fine or something like that? No, or he knows that way?
The other guy says that the road was flooded out during the last storm and they wouldn't be able to get through. And then he's like, that road wouldn't get covered in a storm.
Yeah, something weird like that. Mm-hmm. And then steals the guy's gun.
Yeah.
Beats him up, all off camera. So it's like, okay. And then all of a sudden...
There was a lot of off-camera key moments.
Off-camera super soldier action.
Which I'm cool with, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like 1 or 2 a movie.
I noticed it.
There's a lot, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree with you. That was a little bit weird. And then he just turns into a sniper, like shooting guys at weird angles.
Yeah.
He's also holding the gun like with his hand almost all the way on top, which was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. It definitely seemed off. Like, why would he be that good of a soldier if he's just a translator?
Mm-hmm.
So,
something I did like in a part of the story was Anthony Starr's character towards the end.
That was Anthony Starr?
Yeah. The Homelander, yeah.
I didn't even notice. The guy with the beard?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice. He looks so different.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like how he wasn't a shitbag.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, as far as these stories go now, private contractor's always a shitbag, like especially for a war situation.
Mm-hmm.
And
they were leading you to believe that he was going to be a shitbag.
Yeah, these types of stories, like this guy bails.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's going to steal your money. Like, what are you doing? And then, or find out who he is and then be like, this is too dangerous. We're pulling out.
Which is why I thought when they actually found out at first,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they were actually going to come save him because of who he was. I thought they were going to be like, oh yeah, this guy like is suicide mission basically.
Yeah, but then he says we got to get a Angel of Death.
Oh yeah, I did. I do remember that.
And
I
that's
forgot
like
about that.
the big plane, right?
Yeah.
Or the drone or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it. Which I actually thought was pretty fun. And it kind of leads itself to having just like the slightest touch of Guy Ritchie. Is every single time they brought up like a military term, they would have it on screen say like, "Oh, this is what that means,"
cool.
but in not like a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
It was because like in rock and roll, especially like the introduction of characters, it's like comic book pages coming onto the screen, like super stylized with the character's name.
Pretty much animation.
Yeah, this was like very just like, oh, that's their name, and like almost looked like a subtitle, but you could tell it was like more intentionally like almost like a nameplate for the character.
And I mean, they pulled a MacGruber.
Oh yeah, they did. I don't know if they're the first people to do that.
It's definitely MacGruber.
MacGruber. But yeah, I thought that was really helpful because I definitely like I don't know anything about the military.
No, yeah, me neither.
Yeah, and the military uses so many acronyms and so many just like their lexicon isn't
Nicknames,
something. Yeah,
it's their own language, pretty much.
Right.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like they did a good job of bringing in the average viewer to not make it as confusing as possible, which was good.
What's your favorite Guy Ritchie movie?
That's a tough one. I would probably say Snatch, just because I think it is exemplary. How do you say that word? Exemplary.
I don't know what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Exemplary.
Sure.
I think that's it.
Okay.
It exemplifies a Guy Ritchie movie to me. I think it's the best written, which I think kind of has to do with it being almost identical to Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. So it was like, this is the revised version of that movie.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I thought the introduction of...
I like the actors in Lock, Stock better.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Like Jason Statham in Lock, Stock's definitely like...
That was like his first one. So he was like a nobody then. They're all like kind of nobodies, and they're very fun.
Yeah, they are all...
Every character is so fun.
So... And I understand that the subject matter is different, but they still touch on serious topics in the other movies. There wasn't a fun character in this.
No.
Not a single
so
one.
that's where there's no fun in this movie. Apparently Wrath of Man, it's pretty dark too.
Okay.
It's not funny.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, neither have I.
But yeah, for Snatch, like I think that has the best characters out of any of them. I love Brad Pitt. He's a great actor. I mean, for him to do what
that was like his big
pikey
coming out
accent
party too, right?
Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Legends of the Fall was like where he came.
But this was his first starring role, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie for me, and it's like a more polished version of Lock, Stock, so that's why I like it better. What about you?
I think I'm gonna go with The Gentleman.
You and my dad, dude.
I'd love it, dude.
My dad.
I can watch it
that
all the
fucking
time.
movie. The one thing that I don't.
Jeremy Strong is in it, and I fucking love Jeremy Strong.
Remind me who that is.
Kendall from Succession.
Oh yeah. He's good.
And he's good in it too.
Right.
Dude, everybody's good at it. Matthew McConaughey.
I disagree with Matthew McConaughey.
Really?
I feel like Matthew McConaughey is an actor who can play a very, very good, fun character. And all of the other characters...
Have you ever seen Beach Bum?
No.
Oh, dude, you gotta watch it.
Is it awesome?
Oh, it's so good. It's Harmony Korine.
Okay.
Like, so you know what you're getting into.
Right.
Like, it's so much fun.
Okay, I'll have to watch that.
Fucking nuts.
Don't tell me anymore. That's first on my list now. But he plays such a good, fun character, and there's nothing fun about him in that movie.
I kind of think it needed it though, because every other character was fun.
But every other character,
even his rival.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
But every other character is fun in all of his other movies, and they're great.
So in Lock, Stock, the main guy is not the guy who wins the poker game. He's not. Or
He
loses
has.
the poker game. Loses the poker game.
You're talking about. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
I just watched it.
The two. It's he plays opposite of Statham, right? The little guy.
He's not little. He's tall.
Damn. Again, I haven't seen that movie in forever. No, if I'm thinking of the right guy, he does have his moments though. Because he's more of like the depressed guy. Because
Yeah.
and I know who you're talking about. I forget his name.
Yeah. Because
But,
then like the other guys, the other tall guy is goofy. They call fat all the time.
Right. But he's a fun character in the way that like a lovable idiot, nothing goes right for him type fun.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Matthew McConaughey
He's
is
too cool.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey is too cool. He's so buttoned up. There's not a single.
I disagree, but I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like he's just like so buttoned up and doesn't have even like the slightest tinge of fun. And that is a very fun movie,
Yeah.
The Gentleman.
And it's like the Charlie Hunman and Hunman
I don't know. The guy from
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy.
And Hugh Grant.
Oh, that whole back and
Their
forth is
dynamic
amazing.
is the best.
So good.
So funny. And then Colin Farrell's like character storyline is so fun too.
Putting the gay back in Marvin Gaye.
With
That
the
entire
MMA
crew.
kids.
That entire
Yeah.
crew is awesome. The fact that they all wear those jumpsuits, dude.
Yeah. And they release a rap video.
Yeah. What it was bragging about them.
The robbery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
robbing everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's my dad's favorite movie, of almost of all time.
I can watch it over and over.
Yeah, it's good. I had to stop watching it though because of how much my dad quoted it, and by me saying my dad quoted it, just how many times he said "cheeky cunt." Like, my dad, super. When I grew up, never would curse. He said cursing is showing your lack of vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that movie, he's just calling fat cunt, cheeky cunt, dude, all day long. My mom
They say
gets so
in New
mad.
Zealand they say dog cunt. That's like my
Dog
favorite.
cunt?
Yeah. Come here,
Yeah.
you dog cunt.
That's
It's
a
like-
dirty cunt.
It's like well, it means like you bastard, like buddy.
Oh, I know what it means.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a great one. Which was cool because like Guy Ritchie, Man from U.N.C.L.E., I didn't really love. I still enjoyed it as a movie, but like to me, it was almost like did this guy fall off a little bit? And I thought The Gentleman kind of
It was
like
definitely way more commercial than what he usually makes.
that's what I'm saying by like fall off because he's an auteur. Like he really does have
He
his
writes, he directs.
Mhm.
Now he's like a producer on most of his shit. But
yeah. So he has his like hand on everything and
dude,
and
he has such a cool life. He owns like 2 bars. He loves like just chilling.
is he still married to Madonna?
Wears cardigans everywhere. No, I don't think so.
I always thought that relationship was funny because he directed a Madonna like tour documentary. And I think that's like how they met and then he just started dating like one of the biggest pop stars of all time.
Yeah, it's fucking sick.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, looking at Madonna now, I wouldn't really want to have that on my resume.
Yeah.
But I mean, back in the day, Madonna's Madonna.
It's a pretty big get.
Yeah, you can't really go much more than that.
So he owns 2 pubs.
Yeah, they're not
with David
bars.
Beckham.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Those guys seated at the bar, talking
Owns a
shop.
owns a small brewing company. Gritchie Brewing Company.
Gritchie?
Gritchie. Yeah.
If I did that, I would just still be Carfaro.
Which he brews on his own estate in England.
Really?
Fucking sick.
What's his net worth? It's got to be high.
It's got to be so high. I don't know. In 2022, he bought an airfield and is moving his brewing company there.
Why?
That's bigger. It's probably growing his business, dude.
Dude, I mean,
And he writes a comic too.
alcohol and planes, I don't think
Oh no, he
mix.
did. That was in 2007, 2008. But yeah.
Alcohol and planes don't mix. Nothing on
Just
that?
ask Denzel.
Yeah, I mean, is he flying for Guy Ritchie?
I'm drunk now.
Little Cocoa Puff, buddy.
Get your head right. Dude, this is a little bit off topic, but that might be my favorite John Goodman character of all time. And it's just a cameo, basically.
Yeah. Mhm.
Dude, oh my God.
Yeah.
That makes me proud that some people call me
Brother.
John Goodman.
Yeah.
I always think like when they do of Fred Flintstone, John Goodman. If I was like a cool drug guy like that, I'd be more happy.
Sure.
I don't know. It's fun. So where do you think this stacks up in like Guy Ritchie's filmography?
It's his best not Guy Ritchie movie.
Explain, please.
So it's better than any. The first Sherlock movie was pretty good.
I think so.
I think it's better than that though. Better than Man from U.N.C.L.E. Better than Aladdin.
Shut up. Was that Alexa?
Let's get back on track.
All right, good. What were you saying?
Better than Aladdin. Better than. Although I haven't seen Aladdin, should give it a fair shake.
It's better than Aladdin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Disney movie.
But as far as total, it might be better than Rock and Roll. I haven't seen that in forever.
Rock and Roll. I mean, of like the super stylized Guy Ritchie movies.
Robert Downey Jr. Right?
Rock and Roll?
Yeah.
I don't think he's in it.
He's in it for a little. I thought
Sherlock Holmes is Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I know. I thought he was in Rock and Roll too.
I don't think he is, unless he plays a small character, or I'm just an
Yeah,
idiot.
I think it's like a cameo character.
Okay. Yeah, Rock and Roll is like the one that I felt the least like happy that I was watching. Because with Guy Ritchie
I
movies,
still enjoy it though. I'm not saying
I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying like with Guy Ritchie movies, like I get excited when I know new Guy Ritchie movie's coming out, because you know you're gonna have a good time. I mean, until I watched this movie and it was just like everyone dying around you.
Yeah,
That's not
this is
necessarily a
very
fun
sad.
one. Still a good movie.
Oh no, it's I'm thinking of Jeremy Piven.
How dare you? Apologize to Robert Downey Jr.
Sorry, RDJ.
Oh man, that guy doesn't even have a full set of hair. And you're gonna do Iron Man like that?
I think he's got a great head of hair.
Jeremy Piven?
Oh no,
He's like famously balding.
Never mind. I thought you were talking about.
He's
Robert Downey
the
Jr.
Joe Buck of cinema. But yeah, Rock and Roll to me is like, I don't know, it's is what I would say about that. But
But it's not better than The Gentleman. It's not better
No.
than Lock, Stock. It's not better than Snatch.
yeah, I would agree that it's definitely as far as like a full movie's concerned, I would say better than the Sherlock movies. Rock and Roll, I don't really enjoy. Man from U.N.C.L.E., I think it's better than that. Actually, you want to talk a little bit about Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
I haven't seen it in forever. We can.
I just like, that's kind of the movie that I referenced when I thought he fell off a little bit. There was just like, it was almost like the shell of a Guy Ritchie movie with none of the substance.
So he had to take on a lot with that because it was originally a show.
Right.
So he couldn't write it.
It was an old show, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he had to just take it and do what he could. Probably one for them,
Right.
I wonder if right after that he got his brewery and his pubs.
Yeah, he's like, I'm done.
Yeah. He's like, got this cash. Let me just do what I want to now.
Yeah, and then he's like,
And then Aladdin and Disney came knocking.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
So that happened right after Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Yeah. I
Damn.
think it goes Sherlock, Man from U.N.C.L.E., King Arthur, and Aladdin. Or Aladdin, then King Arthur.
What do you think was going through his mind when he got those 3 movies in a row? Just like,
I don't know if they were that in a row.
well, I mean, okay, yeah, I guess my point doesn't matter if it's not in a row. Because, like, to me, I would be like, what the fuck? Because he just, again, he's got such his own thing. I felt like those were just boxed. Like, he was in a box for all 3 of those movies.
So it was Sherlock, then the sequel, and then took a couple years off, and then did Man from U.N.C.L.E.,
Mm-hmm.
then King Arthur, then Aladdin.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like
It was like a 3 for them, 6 for me now. Because now he did The Gentleman right after that, then Wrath of Man, which was the one that we didn't see, then Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre.
What?
Yeah. De Guerre.
I didn't even see that advertised.
Something happened with New Line and the distribution where it came out and then something got fucked up. And then it never got Like the marketing got fucked up, everything got messed up. I don't think it. From what I hear, it's not one of his best. So I don't think it's a huge miss, but yeah, something got messed up. And then he's making 2 other ones.
What are those?
One is there's a title for one, and it's called The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. So that's gonna definitely be a.
That sounds like a fun one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Although The Man from U.N.C.L.E. sounded fun.
Let's see the cast: Henry Cavill, Eliza Gonzalez, Alan Ritchson, Henry Golding.
That sounds like a mix between.
Carrie Ellis.
Who's that?
As You Wish.
What?
Princess Bride.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in a dog's age. I gotta start bringing that back.
Dog's Age.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a Chris Carfaro original. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
What do you think your favorite Guy Ritchie character is?
I'm gonna go with. I love
pigs from
I love Big
Lockstock.
Chris in Lockstock. I love Big Chris and Little Chris.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, Colin Farrell's character is what my mind originally went to, and I'm like, wait a minute.
For the gentleman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I was
dude.
like, wait a minute, let's think about this.
But for Colin Farrell's character, you have to add in all of his minions. I'll call them.
Yeah.
Because that
And
their
the kids he accosts in the deli.
yeah, their whole dynamic is what makes his character so great. I feel
He's
like.
like, that's all. Fuck off. He's like, that's all you got. Hit me with something. Like,
I mean, fun wise, I think is Brad Pitt's character in Snatch,
okay.
the Pikey. I call him the Pikey King.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like Tyson Fury. He's the Pikey King. But I would say underrated is Bricktop from Lockstock. Oh no, is that Snatch? I always get those two movies
Snatch.
confused.
Bricktop.
Bricktop's the guy with the pigs.
Yeah, that's Snatch.
Yeah, I love that character.
Right?
Yeah, because he's such like, obviously he's like the main villain in that movie,
Yeah.
but then also he's so much fun too
Dude.
because he just shits on people.
Harry in Lockstock. That's
Oh,
where you get
Avi?
like Harry.
I thought it was Avi.
No, it's Harry,
Wait, who
the
are we
main
talking-
bad guy in Lockstock.
Oh, I'm thinking
He has a
of.
porn shop. That's his.
Oh yeah,
That's his cover.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Avi, who's the jeweler.
That's Snatch.
They're so similar.
Yeah.
You can't blame
Yeah.
me for that. They're like the same movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Harry's an awesome character just because
And
he's
that's when you get the classic two guys in a Guy Ritchie movie having a conversation.
yeah.
Well, you see this, Harry? He doesn't just do it this way. He does it this way and this way.
I think
And
part
that's
of
why he's called this.
yeah. I think part of the fun about dialogue in Guy Ritchie movies is the overuse of the other characters' names.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's a British thing, but like
There's a guy on like Instagram and TikTok that does a very good Guy Ritchie like scene.
really?
Yeah, he talks about making a sandwich.
Because he does his bullets heavy.
Yeah, man. I don't really know. Like this The Covenant, it just like for me felt like a big departure. If it was a different director, I'd be more happy with it.
I think if you wanted to watch a Guy Ritchie movie, this is not what you put on.
Right.
Which is tough to still say because he's done so many different types of movies.
Yeah, but I would also say like if I wanted to watch a Guy Ritchie movie, I wouldn't put those on either.
Yeah, me
like
too.
I wouldn't put on the.
But then does that still mean it's a Guy Ritchie movie? Like
I mean, if the guy directed it, the guy.
Right? Yeah.
If he
so,
directed
like,
it, it's a Guy Ritchie movie.
but-
I do feel like you can be disingenuous to yourself
Yeah.
in a project.
So if you're what we describe as a Guy Ritchie movie, if you want that, this is not going to cut it for you.
Right.
But if you're looking for a fun war movie, as far as fun they can be, like I think this is great.
Yeah. I mean, Tropic Thunder was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Although that wasn't technically a war movie. That was a movie about making a movie about the Vietnam War.
Yeah, that's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about something else.
Do you remember the first time like you put together like, wow, this guy makes these movies? For me, it was when I watched Rock and Rolla. I was like, wow, this reminds me of something. And then I remember it was Snatch. And then I watched Lock, Stock a little bit later than that. And I was like, wow, I love these.
I
And
feel
then
like
there's like other directors that do something similar.
yeah, I feel like Guy Ritchie obviously does it so well. Maybe Tarantino. You know, like, because I got into Tarantino a little bit later.
Tarantino's are different though.
In what way?
The characters aren't as hopeless.
Right, but I'm not. That's not like.
There's less of a bringing the audience in on it.
Oh, on the joke?
Not in on the joke, but in on the... Like, Tarantino's telling you a story. Guy Ritchie wants you to feel like you're kind of a part of it in a way.
Yeah, I could see that. For sure.
I don't know. It's hard to describe the differences.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this is this guy's movie.
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
I'm saying. Like, he's another super stylized.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's another super stylized director. Because I got into Tarantino a little bit later, like, probably not until college or maybe, like, late in high school. But, like, I think I watched Pulp Fiction first, and then I went to Reservoir Dogs, and then to, like, his newer movies. And I
I'd
was
say
like,
Martin McDonagh makes similar movies to Guy Ritchie.
you're going to have to remind me.
Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, those movies.
Oh, In Bruges?
In Bruges, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And did he do Banshees, too?
He did Banshees, and he did Seven Psychopaths, which if you haven't seen it,
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
I love it.
That's the one with
It's a fun movie.
That's the one with Christopher Walken,
Yeah.
right?
It's not going to blow your mind, but
They get into a
it's fun.
shootout in the desert.
Yeah, it's a lot of like fun acting, good performances that you feel for the characters, but really just because of their performances. The story is not the best, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for some reason when they have that like last fight scene in the desert, it always reminds me of The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. I don't know why.
Because it's in the desert.
Probably.
There's guns in the desert.
I'm not that deep.
Yeah.
What other directors are like that? I mean, Michael Bay, but in the worst
if you're
way.
talking about like stylized directors, there's plenty. Like Wes Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson, like
Wes Anderson. Paul Thomas Anderson is awesome because you can tell it's a Paul Thomas Anderson PTA, right?
yeah.
But it's so understated sometimes.
What do you mean?
Like think about the Master.
Oh yeah.
Like it's so understated PTA.
Sure, there's less surrealism in a way. I don't know. I think they're very like he's more understated than the others that we just said, but it's still very like all of them are still very him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like if you're gonna pick out directors who are super like it's a Guy Ritchie movie or a Tarantino.
So maybe
movie.
not put him in there, but definitely like Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
and-
Wes
Yeah,
Anderson, I kind of don't enjoy his movies that much anymore.
I'm not a huge fan of French Dispatch. So like the way he uses his stylization to create the characters or to develop his characters is the best about him.
Sure.
And like how his characters are so Wes Anderson characters and then translates who they are as people through however he styles them or whatever he does with them.
You know what I like about Wes
French
Anderson?
Dispatch was like I think just because it was all those short stories, he didn't have a chance to do that.
Yeah.
And that's where like one of my favorite things about his movies fell off. It was just all like what's the fucking like all like the style and what you see.
The aesthetic.
Aesthetic. There's just all aesthetic.
Right.
Yeah.
At some point, where's the substance? What I really like about Wes Anderson movies, and I just thought of this, I feel like every single character in a given movie has the same intelligence level. Like, there's not a single character who's smarter or dumber than any other of the characters in that movie.
Sometimes.
Like what?
Like they're smart in different ways or I don't know. Usually someone who thinks they're smart in a Wes Anderson movie is not smart.
Sure.
And then the people who are more grounded in themselves are smarter. That's just how he does it.
So you're talking, like, an example would be, like, the bellhop versus the maitre d' of the hotel in Grand Budapest.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you're
And
saying.
Royal Tenenbaum.
Royal Tenenbaum. Yeah, for sure. But that's more along the lines of, like, what I'm saying is, I guess the net average of their intelligence like the children in the Royal Tenenbaums, their intelligence level is risen a little bit, where the parents is lowered a little bit, so they're all on the same plane.
I think, yeah, but I don't think I hate that. I think his movies do enough where I accept that
it's fun
for his movies. Yeah.
And then especially Moonrise Kingdom.
Oh yeah, the kids are the
adults
geniuses,
in
yeah.
that one.
Yeah,
Which is I always
I
find
love
that
that
hilarious
movie.
when it's done well.
yeah.
Dude, oh my god, tell him I don't even know what to say. That movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I guess this isn't Guy Ritchie anymore, but I
It
just
doesn't matter.
stylized directors.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we'll name this episode. Well, it's like a
We did
part
talk
A.
a shit ton about the Covenant.
It's a part A, part B.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude.
I gotta take a piss.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
And we're back. Big P break. All right. So what's your favorite stylistic director?
It was Wes Anderson for a long time.
Great. I think his early work's
Tarantino,
still great.
too. Just
Tarantino.
classic film, bro.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like what I love. If we include Paul Thomas Anderson, him too. It's hard
Yeah.
to pick a favorite. I think Guy Ritchie is the most fun.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
Him and Tarantino to me are the most fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even Tarantino's movies, which just kind of brings it back to the Covenant. It's Covenant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His even his serious movies are fun.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about Django with slavery and Inglourious Basterds with
Yeah.
World War II Germany, like they're still some of the most fun. There's so much comedy in there,
Mhm.
you know, and I feel like that really allows him to go.
I just love that interview where it's like him and some news anchor, and she's like,
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
Because
a
it's
little
so
of it?
much fun, Jan. Get it?
yeah, and that split screen.
yeah,
That's such a fun one.
it's like a little piece of shit.
yeah. Yeah, but like, I think bringing humor into those situations almost allows him to go more violent or more like despicable sometimes.
Yeah.
And all of his characters are fun throughout the entire thing too.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and this is like kind of a curveball, no pun intended.
Watching baseball.
And that was a slider, not a curveball. I don't know fucking baseball. But so the Coen brothers, right? Even though I guess tonally they have a lot of range in their movies, you can tell it's a Coen brothers movie.
Yeah.
Like the dialogue a lot of the time is very similar. I'm a big
That's a lot of directors, so it's hard to call them stylists. Like if we're gonna put them in that category.
But yeah, but I feel like it's so obviously them.
So then you can put in David O. Russell.
I think he's another one. I don't
Yeah.
think he does it as good as some of the other guys we're talking about, but he's definitely another one. But like I would say Steven Spielberg isn't a stylistic director.
Yeah,
I-
but you can tell what a Steven Spielberg movie is.
I feel like Steven Spielberg changes his style with whatever the movie is supposed to be.
Not real, dude. Everything's always so perfect.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Perfection, I don't feel like it's a style.
I mean, like, not perfect in like a compliment way. It's like there's a perfect story arc. There's no like, so there's different ways to tell a story. His are always 3-part.
all the
structures.
I's are dotted and the T's
Everything's
are
always a
crossed.
perfect bell curve. Tarantino is like, wow, whoa, you know?
Yeah, I guess
Like,
so.
Yeah.
But then I was also going to say, this is the real curveball, because it's not fun, hardly ever, is Darren Aronofsky.
I would put him in this 100%.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Because I like me a dark movie, and those movies are sick.
I like them too. He lost me with this new one.
No.
Yeah.
Really? He got me back with this new one.
The way I don't know, man. I watched Requiem. I watched Mother.
I don't like Mother.
I get it at the end.
I get it, too, but I don't like it.
I get it, and I'm like, okay. That was a tough watch, but I'm not upset. You know?
I'm upset.
The whale was just so... Maybe it was the way it ended.
Yeah.
I think that how nothing else was really that surreal other than the sheer size of him.
Right.
But that surreal ending didn't fit, and it pissed me off, and it like ruined the end of the movie for me.
That did do it
Not
for
that
me too.
I mean, there's probably some reason he chose that, and I'm not seeing it, but I don't see it.
My interpretation of that, and this could be completely wrong, but the whole movie was so hard to watch. That was like, Brendan Fraser. What's his character's name in that? I don't remember. I think it's Gene. Let's call him Gene. It's not Gene, but it was so hard to watch. It was almost like the euphoria of being released from his prison, which was his body. And that was like him going up to, and again, it was kind of jarring because the rest of the movie didn't have anything like that. But you could also say like the storm in the very beginning was like of biblical proportions, and that was like almost a storm of like fantastical magnitude, right?
Sure.
But I just felt like it was literally, here's a breath from all of that you had to endure from the entire rest of the movie. And it was just like, we're finally done. His character was like, I'm finally at peace, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
That's how I interpreted it, at least.
And I see that, but I just don't like it.
Yeah, and you've got your
Yeah.
opinion. I just thought it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it was like I was such a fan all the way from like Pi.
Your Pie is sick.
I watched that again recently.
That's one of his happier movies too, and it's like not that happy.
Pi?
Yeah. Well, at the end, he's free, and you see he's free.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. Wish you can then draw the parallels to The Whale. Kind of very similar story.
There's more closure in Pie.
Yeah, I'd see that as well. Yeah, you left
Which
it
you
pretty
don't need
open-ended.
closure if you have a good ending. I just don't think that. I don't know. It didn't do it for me.
I agree though. I see what you're saying.
There's closure in Requiem. I think that's why that one's not as rough, even though it's probably harder to watch in other scenes, most of the other scenes.
Yeah, I mean that whole last scene, the
Yeah.
montage. But what I was gonna say is from Pi to, and I forget which one came out after, either Black Swan or The Wrestler.
Black Swan is tough.
Black Swan is tough.
There is closure though.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's kind of something in all of his movies. It's like his characters at the very end have some sort of release, right?
Yeah.
If you go from
Yeah,
Pi
they do.
on,
But he
which is
completes
what I'm-
his stories.
But which is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. The Whale, it was the exact same thing, right? At the very out of turmoil and strife and all.
So
these
he wraps
hardships.
everything up in the Whale, but he doesn't provide closure.
I think he does though.
Not like his other
Dude,
movies.
if you look at
not enough
his,
for me.
Okay, well you're just a hard customer to please.
Yeah, and I think that's why it falls short this time for me. It's because he doesn't do as much as he did in his other movies.
But what do you think's not as much as the other ones? Because like if you go through, right, Pi, obviously I think you're right. That one has the most closure involved with it, right? You know, he's
So
fine.
does, I mean, probably is just as Requiem just has just as much. It's just not as relieving because it's still very sad at the end.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. But I also don't think that it provides you with a lot of closure. It's like all of the things that the character has done throughout the entire movie have led up to this, and they're getting exactly what they deserve at the end. Right? So with Pi, you know, he drills the hole in his head, and now he's unburdened with his paranoia about
Yeah, if
about
he
the
actually
numbers.
does drill the hole, like whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
With Requiem, you have all of the characters. They're in turmoil at the end, right? The mother's crazy still. She's locked up. Jared Leto's character loses his fucking arm. The girl's in that weird sex cult thing. I forget what happens to the guy, the Wayne's
Marlon
character.
Wayans, I think he's the only one that he goes to jail or
Yeah, he
he
is
goes
in
to
jail.
prison or he goes or he gets clean. I think he has a better storyline than everybody else.
And then Black Swan, she dies at the end.
Yeah.
Right? But doing what she has worked for her entire path up to that point. Wrestler, same thing, but
Yeah.
in a more happy sense. He dies in the ring.
Wrestler's my favorite Darren Austin.
It's so
movie.
good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Is that on our list? I know Requiem is.
I don't know if the Wrestler.
I don't think it is, which I think is a travesty because I would argue that Wrestler is his best movie.
I agree.
And then Mother, I only saw the one time, but that one's kind of weird because it's kind of like the rebirth cycle.
Yeah.
I don't like. The Fountain, I also don't remember how that one ended.
I never saw The Fountain.
It's okay. I would say that's one of his, when he was doing all those hits, that's one of his weaker movies.
Also, this is not my point, but the more I thought about it after, the dialogue, it was hard. I think I let a lot go when I was watching it.
You didn't like the dialogue?
Well, we've talked about this. Like, John has brought this up in the past. When we saw the movie, John brought it up right away, how it was very cheesy dialogue.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And I think that's why I'm not letting other things go, because I let that go for the first time I watched it. I probably won't be a second time, though, that I watch it. But
I want to watch it again, for sure.
And it makes sense, though. Like, even John brought it up when he had made that criticism that, like, it's a play. Like, plays are a little bit cheesier because you have to get more across to the audience that's right in front of you.
Yeah, you got to play to the back of the
subtlety.
house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Make things a lot more obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to rewatch it to I guess really see that.
Yeah. And John always brings up the weed smoker guy.
The weed smoker guy.
The door-to-door church dude.
Oh, yeah,
And he's like,
yeah.
I used to have a problem. I smoked too much weed. And he's like, is there a carb? It's like, come on, man. You don't have like
I've met a lot of
put that
people in
in?
real life who have said things like that.
Sure.
I think that was the most realism out of the entire movie.
No, man. No. Whoever has been smoking weed for a long time and then gets back into it is just going to take it and smoke it. They're going to notice there's no carb. And that's it. They're not going to say a word.
What if he was just so afraid of a carb that's why he stopped smoking? And then he was like, is there a carb? Because if there is, I'm out.
What you do in that situation with a movie, because you don't need the dialogue to show that he knows that, and you can be more subtle, is you don't have her smoke in front of him, and then he smokes it in front of her and does it fine.
I guess.
That's what you do.
Yeah, sure, but I feel like
If you want to show that. You don't have to show that, too.
yeah, I guess that is just like a weird thing that didn't need to be shown.
It didn't. Yeah, but because it's from a play, like those things get missed and they get left into a movie.
Yeah, I guess I agree. Oh, man, I now I need to watch that movie again because I've been too happy. I think I need to get brought back down to reality.
I do when I'm in good moods. I like watching movies that bring me down because then you notice different things.
Yeah,
You're not just wrapped up into the wallowing of it. You kind of notice like, oh wow, all right, I never saw that before. Like,
yeah,
I'm not just want to be sad, make me sadder.
yeah, which is why I think I started watching Darren Aronofsky. Yeah. I was like, this movie's really sad. What else he got?
You're probably a very. Do you ever read that book called Bittersweet?
No.
You should read it. It tells you if you're like a bittersweet person or not. You take like a little quiz. You're probably a very bittersweet person.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, it's like people who find some type of joy in a rainy day.
I love a rainy day.
There you go.
It's like rain on your wedding day.
And then you learn about like why, like theories behind why like people are like that and what is good to do for your mental health.
Interesting. Was it
Yeah.
bittersweet?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look that up.
Let's call it. Yeah.
Close it out. So this is a fun one.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on this impromptu.
What was that? You're like, thanks for the.
Thanks for joining us on this one-off shit show.
It wasn't a shit show. We had fun.
Yeah.
It was Make Me Happy again. I'm happy we did it.
I'm happy we did it.
I know you don't like Make Me Happy, but that's your fault, not mine.
Sure.
Yeah, let us know if you guys like these. We'll do more of them in the future. And
not just us two. You know, we can bring them back the other guys that we killed.
yeah, I don't know, though. This kind of felt good.
Okay.
I wanted to murder, and it felt good to get two of them out of the way.
That's good, yeah. They were good for a while.
Yeah, if you were wondering, we kind of Blair Witch Project them.
Mm-hmm.
Connor stood in the corner, and I stabbed him from behind. Anyway, that got weird. Thanks, guys. Peace.